This is the Algebra 2 Unit 2 review. This is just the even solutions. Let's go ahead and jump into this. Number 2. It says find the slope of the line containing the points below. So we use our slope formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we're going to say 5 minus 5. It doesn't matter which one I make, 1 and 2. So I'm going to say negative 8 and negative 12. So I'll go ahead and add the opposite here. And I'm going to get 0 over positive 4. So that's a slope of 0. Number 4 is actually, let me write the points out. So this one's going to be, when I set up my slope formula, 4 minus negative 1 over 6 minus 6. And you see this is going to be 5 over 0, and this is what we call no slope. Cannot divide by 0. The number 6 is always a little bit tricky. And basically they're asking you which one is steeper. So let's kind of look at this and see if we can kind of make some sense of this. So here's the first line going through these 2 points. Okay, and here's the second line going through these 2 points. Okay, so let's find the slope for this one. So we're going to do 3 minus 2 all over 4 minus negative 2. And then I'm going to go ahead and have to find the slope for this one. Alright, it's going to be 4 minus 3 and then 6 minus 2. So this gives me 1 over 4. And this gives me 1 over 6. And so when it comes to steeper, let's kind of look at this. Just kind of throw ourselves a graph here real quick. Just kind of give us a little bit of an understanding of what's actually taking place here. So if I pick a point, it doesn't matter where it is. Let's say I pick a point right here, and I go up 1 space and then over 4 spaces. Let's say it's right there. Now if I start from the same point and I go up 1 and over 6 spaces, then it's going to be over here. So if you look at the lines, okay, you can see that the 1/4 is the steeper line. Okay, so you can kind of think of it like this. When it comes to steeper, it's actually, this is going to be, if you put these into decimals, this is 0.25. Okay, and if you put the 1 over 6, you're going to get a smaller decimal. Okay. So you got to really understand what a fraction means. So the quote-unquote smaller the decimal, or the bigger the number in a sense. Okay, so 1 over 4. So if you just kind of draw yourself a picture there. All right, number 8. Number 8 says, find the slope of the line passed through the given points. Tell whether the slope rises, falls, is horizontal or vertical. So number 8. So you can see we're just finding slopes here. Is this. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to use my slope formula. Okay. So 5 minus 4, and then 2 minus negative 2. Go ahead and add the opposites here. And I'm looking at 1 over 4. Okay. This is a positive number, so it's a positive slope. And it would be increasing. Okay, so it rises by what they're asking us. Okay. Number 10 says so same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up, find my slope formula. Please pay attention to the negatives. Okay, so there's y2 minus y1, which is 15, and then 12 minus 8. So go ahead and add the opposite here, and this is going to be negative 16 all over 4. This gives me a slope of negative 4. So this is a negative slope, so this is going to be going down in a sense. So this would be, you could say it falls. Okay. And then number 12, the points are 5, -2, 2, -2. So I'm going to say -2 minus -2 all over 2 minus 5. So I'll go ahead and add the opposite right there, and I'm looking at 0 over -3. Okay, that's a zero slope, but you got to remember how to interpret that. That is a horizontal line. Okay, so zero slope is horizontal, vertical is no slope. Number 14. Number 14 says, tell whether the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Okay, so we got to remember what's kind of going on here. So if the slopes are the same, slope tells us perpendicular, parallel. If the slopes are the same, the lines are parallel. If the slopes are opposite reciprocals, right, which means they're flipped upside down in different signs, then they're perpendicular. If there's any other relationship, it's neither. All right, so let's look at 14 here. So here's the first line, 7, 3, and the point 8, 7. So let's find its slope. So you can see here, we're on the 14th question here, and we've done nothing but find slope. Okay. So this is a slope of 4 over 1, or just 4. Okay. The second line, that was line 1. Okay, line 2 is the coordinate, went through the coordinate points -5, -4, and -1, -5. So now I'm looking at setting this one up. Okay, so I'm going to say -5 minus -4 all over -1 all over -5. Alright, so this is going to add the opposite right there. That gives me -1 over adding the opposite right there over +4. Okay, so if you look at these two slopes, I can think of this one as over 1, or how I just had it right there, and you can see that these are opposite reciprocals, right? They're flipped upside down, that's the reciprocal part, and the opposite means we change the signs. So since these are flipped upside down in different signs, these would be perpendicular lines. Okay? These would be perpendicular lines. Okay. Number 16 says, find the slope and the y-intercept of each line. Okay. There's a couple of different techniques to do this. These are linear equations, so if all I want is a y-intercept, that's really nice. I'm going to go ahead and use y equals mx plus b, where m equals the slope and b equals the y. Sorry, let's just say y-intercept. Okay. Now, be careful because it doesn't work for the x-intercept, it works for the y-intercept. We know we're in the slope-intercept form, what we call y equals mx plus b, when y is all by itself. So when I'm looking at number 16, this is the actual question right here. And they picked this one on purpose because people tend to pick the fraction thinking that's the slope. Well, here's my slope, it's the number in front of the x, so my slope, which we always use as m, is 5 over 1, or 5, and our y-intercept, which we use as b, is -1 over 2. This sign is included in the y-intercept. Number 18, this is a good question, because there's no y in here. So I'm telling you, use y equals mx plus b where there's no y. So I'll divide by 6. I'm going to solve for x here. You don't have to for this question, but it may help. It actually will help. So when we do this here, this is going to be 3. Okay. So you got to remember how to graph this thing. If I was to graph this line, okay, I would go to where x equals 3. Okay. And this is an x equal, so this is a vertical line through that point. Remember, the x's are always vertical points, where the x always equals 3. Okay. So looking at this, I see it's a vertical line. I have to understand this relationship that vertical lines have no slopes. So when I ask you for a y-intercept, where does it cross this axis? Well, it doesn't, because it's a vertical line. And what's its slope? None. So basically for a y-intercept, it's no solution, okay, or there isn't one. And for a slope, or what we call m, it doesn't have one either. It has neither one of those, because it's a vertical line. Okay. Number 20. Says find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. Okay. Well, there's a couple techniques to find the y-intercept, which we just did one up here. But the x-intercept, we're not so lucky with using the y equals mx plus b. So if you remember, and this technique always works, and it's